All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the Underground. This is Interactive Chat Volume 60. Only 9 more to go. What is up, everybody? This is, of course, our weekly, every single Thursday, rain or shine, Solo Man podcast, where we talk about everything: news, reviews, announcements, trailers, new releases, all the things PSVR2 related. My name is AJ, aka God Cannon. What is up, guys? I missed you. I, of course, took off last week because I just had quite a bit going on. And also, I took it was an unintentional little break from some things, but we back, baby. And we got lots to talk about. 2 new games releasing tomorrow. If not 3, I don't even know at this point anymore. There's 3 games, I think, coming out this week. We've got AKKA ARRH, Jeff Minter, creator of Polybius, and Goat Up, and other trippy, crazy VR titles. Got some first impressions on that. System Critical 2, the retro and Mega Man inspired first-person shooter. Got some updated impressions on that, and you're going to want to pay attention because things have changed a little bit. But also Stilt, which I cannot wait to talk about here. Good God, why is once again the font size so big on here? All right, maybe that'll fix it. We'll see. We've got a bunch of a new game that's been announced for PSVR 2, a new game that's dropped on the PS Store that we're going to take a look at, and then, of course, some other things. I hope you guys have been doing well, man. I missed you. So before we get started, of course, this is Interactive Chat, where I like to interact with you guys and say what is up to Mark Smith, 12, the Backlog Game Cat, woo, Blue Jew, the Underground Game Cat, Elite Name Squad in the house, Vargol Soft, Scott, the PSVR Game Cat for life. What is up, guys? Good to see you. Mark Smith says, watching while feeding my baby boy. Rock a Mark Smith's baby on the treetop. Soon he'll be playing PSVR 2. I should never be in charge of singing nursery rhymes. I should never. I will terrify you and scar your children for life. Anyways, let's see here. But Looper says, I've got another live stream still scheduled. I don't know what happened there. Streamlabs, being Streamlabs, decided to just wig out on me a little bit, but no worries. What is up, Silver Nexus, my dude, Nihilist Ryan, my metal feline friend, already getting that tip train going. Thank you so much, man. Says, hey, Jay, what is up, Nihilist Ryan? Says, making our Thursday suck. Just a little less. Good to see you guys so much, man. Lots been going on for me lately. Man, first of all, happy to announce that thanks to your support, we already talked about this already, but on Without Parole, but thank you to all of your support. I will be attending PAX East this year, along with all of the PSVR 2 Without Parole crew, and we couldn't have done that without your support. And, you guys are just amazing. You proved every single day, every single week, every single hour that you just continue a relentless assault of being awesome people. But yeah, thank you so much, man. And we're, of course, going to be, meeting with you guys and hanging out with you. We've got some PSVR 2 developers that are going to be there that we're going to get to hang out with as well. And on top of that, we're going to be checking out anything PSVR 2 related or VR related, gaming related that we can for that's going to be at PAX East. Going to be a little bit of stuff so far, but going to have to wait and see the full deets on that as we get closer. But again, just wanted to express my most sincere thank you to everybody who donated and supported to make us get there. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait. I haven't seen Brian in person since 2019. So it's been a minute. That's what I need to say now. He's got me so scarred because every time I say it's been a while, he goes, it's been a while. So I'm just gonna say it's been a minute. We'll see if he goes. It's been a minute. Also, yeah. So last week, you know, the whole channel's had a huge focus on legendary tales lately, and honestly, the only reason that that got a little bit behind is because I took a little bit of time off last week, because my favorite game of all time, Final Fantasy VII, had its second part come out, and I wanted to check that out a little bit. And again, for those who don't know, public service announcement. I'm going to be mentioning this a few times, so everybody gets this down. Sign up for the PlayStation Stars program on the PlayStation app, and you can get points every time you purchase games. With these points, you can add funds to your wallet. So I was able to purchase Final Fantasy VII Rebirth with all these stars points from the games that I've purchased. So just want to throw that out again. I remember Macho the Real Estate Game Cat said that he purchased Legendary Tales using this, and he had like money to spare. So you may not know that you have some money sitting in, you know, available to you for free from points you've collected. So just want to throw that out there again. So guys, we have a lot to talk about today. Gonna be reviewing, like I said, System Critical 2 and Stilt, as well as some first impressions of AKKA ARRH. But first, we do have to address something first. And this was honestly part of the reason I couldn't bring myself to do a show last week. I was in a great mood. I was really excited about, you know, all the stuff going on, Final Fantasy VII, and, you know, been loving Legendary Tales and playing all these different games, a lot of redacteds at the time. But then we got some pretty tough news last week, and I'm not going to do a full deep dive into this, but I feel like, you know, it's important that we address it to some point and just talk about it real quick. And that is, of course, the unfortunate news. The show's going to get a lot happier after this, I promise you. But let's go ahead and rip this Band-Aid off. Last week, we had the unfortunate announcement that Sony are laying off 8% of their workforce, and tons of people are being affected. And first and foremost, you know, really wishing the best for everybody that unfortunately was a victim to these layoffs. It's really unfortunate how many layoffs we've been hearing about lately. I mean, it just seems like, I don't know, there's always this this reoccurring bad news, and layoffs seem to be the latest. And within the combined this year and last year, I think there's been close to 10,000 layoffs in the gaming industry, which is rough, man. And this has been obviously a big part of some of the additional aftermath of COVID. During COVID, the games industry saw a huge surge because people were staying indoors, staying inside, and they were playing a lot more, engaging with digital entertainment, consuming a lot more digital entertainment. You know, this is kind of a result of all these, during that time, all these companies bulked up like crazy because there was just tons of activity in the gaming realm. Now, unfortunately, what happened was they weren't really able to, they didn't really have the foresight or didn't predict, which happens. You know, we are all human. It doesn't matter, you know, how high of a level executive or whatever you are. You know, nobody's perfect at the end of the day. We are all human. We all make mistakes. And this was definitely a huge mistake by the leadership over there at Sony. And unfortunately, it has led to not only mass layoffs across the entire enterprise, like from even developers that make like highly successful games like Insomniac and Naughty Dog and all these other people, but some of their, you know, other divisions as well were affected. And most notably, the big the big one that, you know, that at least when it pertains to PSVR2 was we did get some unfortunate news that people at Firesprite were let go, which was a newly acquired Sony first party studio now, as well as the complete shutdown of Sony London studio. And this is the one in particular that really bothers me. Now, as far as we know, you know, Firesprite was working on some sort of dark narrative game, possibly a Twisted Metal, which apparently got canceled as well. We didn't actually know if the Twisted Metal was going to have VR support. The other shocking news surrounding that is that we also found out that despite these rumors of a Twisted Metal game being in development for quite some time now, I think a year, well over a year, we also learned that the game was like hardly even started. Like it was still in pre-production. So it was pretty crazy that, you know, and that's been, I think for me, that's been a big frustrating part. Now I know obviously, you know, they've been dealing during the last couple of years, they dealt with the pandemic. It slowed a lot of things down. It slowed down a lot of development. It slowed down a lot of supply chain. But that's been the most frustrating thing for me is like, I feel like there's just been so many things that have really been delayed and it just, I've always, you know, expressed, a lot of frustrations with the leadership over there, ever since Jim Ryan and Herman Hulst took over. And look, man, I'm a huge fan of PlayStation. Y'all know that. I run a freaking PSVR channel. I'm a big fan of it. But I don't also just go along with every decision they make and go, oh yeah, that's the greatest idea ever. No, y'all know me differently. Just because I love PSVR and a lot of the things that PlayStation does, a lot of the leadership there, a lot of the people, a lot of the games we get, doesn't mean I just go along with every single thing and blow smoke up their ass about every single thing. That's just not how I roll. Like I usually just speak from the heart and I speak a lot on my feelings and stuff. And I've expressed a countless amount of times, you know, how much I miss the leadership of Sean Layden and Shuhei Yoshida, really being the head honchos over there. And kind of like all of my, you know, I've expressed my displeasure with like, you know, Jim Ryan being appointed as president, as CEO of PlayStation, with Herman Hulst being the head of PlayStation Studios. And really it's just because it's one of those things where it's like, well, if you have a great thing going, which and if everything's working, then it's like the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I feel like they everything was going really, really well. People were starting to feel like PlayStation like was actually like really in tune, fine tuned with the community, giving them what they wanted. And sure, not everything was perfect back then either. There was a lot of, you know, there was definitely some mismanagement of things like Dreams, obviously, that didn't shake out after a 10-year long period. There's certainly been things we've questioned, even under that leadership. But that was a very, very special time, it seems, for VR, especially compared to kind of where we're at now. It just seemed like there was a little bit more care and love and a closer relationship with, you know, this platform and stuff. And yeah, so long story short, the most frustrating part to me, you know, I've expressed several times that you know, I wasn't happy with the design direction about Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is supposed to be a big flagship title for PSVR 2. And while it does some good things, and look, if you love Horizon Call of the Mountain, more power to you. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm happy that you love that game. I, however, was not that crazy about it, especially knowing the potential what could be there. The fact that, you know, their big impact game, their system seller, turned out to be kind of more of just a climbing game, with some limited combat stuff, really just showed me like how much like they don't have their finger on the pulse of, you know, what gamers really want. Sure, some people jumping into VR for the first time, they're not going to be able to tell the difference and probably have a great time, but those of us that have already experienced hundreds or tens of dozens of games to hundreds of games from last gen and jumping to this gen, it does feel like a reset button was hit, and it was kind of like starting from scratch. And it's just decision after decision after decision. There's been definitely some frustrating things about it, and I think that has shown in the sales. You know, like they did show that PSVR2, they said it's doing okay, that it's selling 8% better than PSVR1. But for something that people waited basically 5 to 7 years for, I think it was 5 years, like people really, really wanted PSVR2 for the longest time. I mean, that's what everyone that didn't jump into PSVR1 said, I'll wait for the second iteration of it. And to only increase the sales by 8%, I think is not good. I think that is definitely an illustration of a failed launch to some degree. Now, there is hope. There is hope for PSVR 2. Of course, there's plenty of time. It's still early. There's plenty of time to kind of right the ship. The leadership is changing as we speak. And there could be a whole nother reset and another direction that it goes in. But we don't actually know. At this time, it's a big question mark as to what's going to happen. But as far as what we've witnessed last week, with the layoff of Sony London studio, this is what got me frustrated about the leadership there, because everything was going great. You sold 110 million PS4s. You sold 5 million PSVRs, at least 5 million, probably well over that. And you had some awesome titles on there. And you know, due to some leaks, we had a little bit of inside info as to what Sony's game plan was with PSVR 2, and it was along the things like hybrid games, hybrid games from third-party games, from first-party, whatever. That's a great model. That is a good model. We've seen some of that so far with Gran Turismo 7, No Man's Sky, Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village, some of the greatest VR games I've ever experienced in my life. They announced that there was going to be no backwards compatibility, and that was a big blow for a lot of people. That was a huge deal breaker for many people. And while that one's was kind of disappointing, I was able to live with that if one stipulation, they remastered their games. Well, there have been games and developers that have remastered their games because the only thing better than having backwards compatibility is having the majority of the library remastered for PSVR 2 with better tracking, better graphics, better performance, all these things. Sadly, that's been one of the biggest frustrations, is that they haven't done that either. That's been, to me, one of the more questionable things. It's like, well, again, this wasn't something that they publicly announced, so you can't. It gives them a I wouldn't say an excuse, but it is something. It's not like they broke a promise to us that they didn't make. You can't break a promise you didn't make to the public, but they did say that to developers behind the scenes. But with the closure of London Studio, this is where, again, my frustration kind of came up again, because we all know London Studio is full of incredibly talented people, from artists to designers to all sorts of programmers and whatever. They of course did stuff like they worked on PlayStation VR Worlds, which was like a launch title for PSVR, and it was kind of like a tech demo with multiple games on it, but it had some really high quality stuff on there. The biggest problem with that, of course, was that they were charging like a full price game for it. But London Studio, of course, made one of the more popular titles on PSVR called Blood and Truth, which was a sequel to the PlayStation VR Worlds game London Heist. Here's the thing about London Studio is that they have always, for at least as long as I've known of them, which has been quite some time, they have always been the studio that is developing different games that are meant to show off and meant to show off new technology. They did a lot of stuff with the PlayStation Moves when they first came out, and then when PlayStation VR came out, they did, of course, like we said, the aforementioned PlayStation VR Worlds, as well as Blood and Truth. And Blood and Truth was pretty amazing. The frustrating part to me is that not only with the closing of the studio, we're not likely to see, most likely not going to see a remaster of PlayStation VR Worlds or Blood and Truth, which is pretty painful, to be honest. But we're not going to see like a sequel of them here. And what I'm getting at here is that my frustration has been a lot with the leadership over the years. And the hope for me is that with the new leadership incoming, I don't think things are going to be the same ever as they were. I think there's major changes incoming, but that doesn't necessarily mean like everything is doom and gloom either. I think that there's still hope that a lot of things they can right the ship in several different ways. Nothing has to be permanent like this, and they can shift things. The PlayStation 3 is the best example of having a failed launch and then turning it around by the end of the generation. The sucky part is that it might be we might have to wait until the end of this generation to be completely satisfied with what's going on over there at Sony and with PlayStation VR2, but there is still absolutely hope, and I'm not giving up hope that things can be corrected, things can get better. We do have lots of good games to look forward to, probably, tons that are between some that are coming out this year and in the future. But when it comes to like Sony's first party stuff, it's probably going to be a while, I would think, unless they've had stuff that's been in development for a long time, which is also possible. We know they've been working on games like Concord and some other things. We think that there's, another Japan Studios making another Astrobot. Astrobot would really, really make things a lot better. And it's not necessarily that Astrobot would be this killer app in terms of sales, like, make headsets fly off the shelves, but it's something that would just have a really positive impact. And that's what Sony needs to start doing right now, is one by one, start building up these pillars, having these positive moves over and over. And I think the biggest positive that we've seen so far has been them willing to open things up a little bit, like with adding PC support. Now, we don't know exactly what kind of PC support is coming, but we discussed this on the last interactive chat, that they announced that there is some sort of PC support incoming, whether it be, obviously the best thing they could do is to allow some way to be able to use your PSVR2 on PC. The other best thing they could do is to have some client that works on the PS5. I've seen tons of different things. I'm hoping for just straight up being able to use it with a PC, because that would be pretty cool. But we'll have to wait and see. So they could still have some issues with that as well, depending on how they deal with that. But we shall see. But I think the most frustrating thing to me is that ever since Jim Ryan took over, you know, we've heard a lot about him wanting to transition. You know, they said, "Oh, we're doing really well. We're making lots of money. We want more. We want more profits. We want, you know, more support from investors and whatnot." And I think they got a little greedy here. And so a big initiative has been, under the Jim Ryan era, has been this games as a service model. They basically, especially with Microsoft gobbling up publishers left and right, you know, Sony doesn't have those kinds of resources that Meta or Microsoft or Apple, they don't have the same kind of resources and money and power that they have. So they are limited in what they can do, but they can still make smart moves. If you look at what Nintendo's done over the several decades, is they've built on their brand, they've built an identity, and they've figured out a smart way to both have a successful console as well as, you know, build that brand community loyalty, things like that. And I think Sony needs to kind of flesh that out a little bit, get back to that. And, you know, with PSVR, it does seem like they kind of hit a reset button, and they just said, you know, we're just going to start fresh. Just forget the 5 million people that, you know, invested in the last 5 years. Forget everything that, you know, has been leading up to this point. We're going to just, you know, start fresh. We're going to have Fire Sprite make a Horizon climbing game, and we're going to do some hybrid titles, which were actually pretty good. Capcom, of course, killing it out there, and Gran Turismo, oh, so good. But other than that, I mean, from like a Sony, you know, Capcom's not even a Sony first party thing. That's a third party. So the only real first party thing I could think of is Gran Turismo. And then they've also funded some individual projects. But I really would have loved to see Sony London Studio, a studio that has been around for a long time, developing for new hardware, rather than making them work on a live service game, trying to, you know, desperately try to find a way to make profits and make some kind of game with microtransactions and make money and, you know, follow these practices that other places are doing pretty well and profiting off of. It would have been really nice for them to, you know, stick with their strengths. And I feel like the biggest thing under the Jim Ryan era has been a horrible mismanagement of studios. Now, he's done some good things, of course. He got PS5 through a pandemic. He got a PSVR2 launched through a pandemic. So he does deserve a little bit of credit there. But I do think, as being a, you know, aggressive, really amazing businessman, I think he's failed on several levels. And the layoffs of 900 people across all of Sony studios is one part of that. Obviously, that's not entirely on him, but I do think that there is some thing. And I just haven't gotten this good vibe from him or Herman Hulst since the moment they took over, you know. And I feel like their relationship with the studios, it something doesn't seem right. You know, you see with these other studios last gen, you see them talking about how amazing Shuhei was or is, and how amazing Sean Layden is, and they talk about the leadership and the community and the everybody there. You don't see that with Herman Hulst or Jim Ryan. All you see is maybe Herman Hulst with a picture next to somebody, or Jim Ryan with a picture next to a studio he's about to shut down. It's not a good look, man. I mean, so if you read kind of between the lines, that's what I've been seeing, at least on the surface level. I'm sure, you know, I don't want to take away any of the credit of probably a lot of the things they've done behind the scenes, but that's just what I've been able to witness. And unfortunately, even though I wasn't happy with them taking over to begin with, again, because it's like they had a perfect thing going, and likely what happened was that Sean Layden was like, look, this AAA games, these expensive games are not a sustainable business model. Probably made investors worried, and probably made some of the higher ups worried. And that's why he ended up leaving. And now you look at what's happening and you're seeing them talking about, oh, this is not sustainable. Oh, this is, the games are getting more expensive and, nothing we do, we have to lay off lots of people. Well, this is what he warned about, man. This is literally what he said right after leaving PlayStation. And it's just like, it sucks, man. It's an unfortunate situation. My heart goes out to everybody affected from these layoffs. But yeah, I really, really hope that, and I want to believe that there is still time to right the ship, to get things going back on track. It doesn't have to be 100% the way things work, because I don't think that's ever going to happen. Or at least not anytime soon. But there was like a consistency with PlayStation over the years that they delivered on, and I want to get back to that place. I think it benefits gamers, it benefits Sony, it benefits developers, everybody when they were doing what they did. But I really wish London Studio would have been focused on, instead of a live service game that got canceled now and shut down the entire studio, it would have been nice if they would have been working on remastering Blood and Truth for PSVR 2, maybe working on a sequel, because people seem to really connect with that IP and would have liked to see another one. I know I would have, and to be able to do it with the new hardware and technology would have been pretty nice. But, and then, I really want to see Japan Studio make another Astrobot. I don't care if it's hybrid or just VR only, as long as it has VR is what I'm really hoping for. They are in a tricky place now where, they have to please the flat screen audience. They have to, they don't really, in their eyes, they're looking at kind of the money situation. I wouldn't be super surprised if they are thinking, well, we want to make money off this and build on this, in a way where it can be profitable in the future. But I've been saying it before, and I'll say it again. They need to milk the hell out of Astrobot, because you do have something special with that character and can do a lot with it. But man, so yeah, it's unfortunate news, but I wanted to address it. It came up last week, and I just wasn't in the mood to talk about it. Like, I was in a really good mood, and there's probably a lot more I can discuss about it, but I've already talked about it for damn near 30 minutes. So I'd kind of like to move on here, but I wanted to share my 2 cents on it. And, it's not a I told you so moment, because honestly, I wish I was wrong about everything. But it's just, it's a shitty situation, but I hope things start to go in the right direction moving forward. The thing is, guys, it's probably not going to be an immediate thing. Even if things get better, I don't feel super confident that it's just like an overnight change. Everything is just all of a sudden going to start being awesome. I think if they hit the reset button, they've purged a lot of developers. They're going to try, obviously, to increase their profits and whatnot. And right now, the VR industry is not really exploding. I mean, it's definitely gained in popularity. I think VR is mainstream by this point. So I don't think there's any more question about, I don't think that there's any question that VR is mainstream. Now it just needs to have a mainstream success, mainstream level of success in sales and everything. But just wanted to share my 2 cents on that. I would have liked to see Firesprite remaster the Persistence, and maybe make a new VR title. Would like to see Sony London Studio do that. Would like to see Sony Japan Studio remaster Astrobot and then make a new title. The lack of first party remasters is kind of baffling to me. I don't expect them to do these multi-million-dollar spin-offs over and over, especially if they're not moving the needle. But yeah, who said that? Somebody said, I think the chat's a little behind here. Somebody said, keep leaning into that hybrid theory. What is this, Linkin Park? you know, the hybrid theory, I think, is, you know, that's something that is something that Brian and I have preached about, that we do think the reason we push for this hybrid games model is because it does seem like a very practical thing to do. Even if games have to make some sacrifices, like Resident Evil 4, you know, having some 3D or having some third person things, having some whatever, it was still worth it, in my opinion. 100% worth it. In fact, most people would probably argue that Resident Evil 4 might be the best PSVR game ever made. You know, at the end of the day, I've always said the hybrid games are a like amazing way to bring us the content that we want, because as us in this ecosystem, you know, we're gamers. We're pretty, you know, as much as we love VR tech, which is an important part, you know, things like manual reloading, things like a lot of these, you know, staying in first person, just any immersive features possible. I think we also are gamers at our hearts, and we like full-fledged games, you know, and things like that. So anyways, man, there's probably more I could say on that, but I think it's time to move on, because we got other things to talk about here. What I was going to say was that even though I think hybrid games are a great solution to kind of, you know, a great solution to having like high quality VR games for the time being, at the end of the day, fully fledged VR games that are built from the ground up for VR, that have the content of you know, big flat screen games, are going to ultimately rule in the end. But we got a long way to go there before they can be super profitable. But that's like things like Legendary Tales. That's why I'm so adamant about supporting games like Legendary Tales, because that is the ultimate direction next to AAA hybrids. And of course, there's, you know, I love indies as well. We're going to talk about some indies today, but you know, there's so much more I could talk about on this. But we're going to go ahead and leave it there. Before I move on, I do want to read a couple comments from you guys, because I missed a couple things here. Matthew Longo says Sony can kill all the negativity if they just announce some games. I think they need to do a little bit more than that. They definitely killed, I mean, they killed a lot of negativity announcing PC support. Now, we don't know exactly what that implies, but if you saw the reaction on the internet, which is, you know, not always completely accurate and, you know, just going to automatically translate to sales. That did really seem like it had a positive impact here. Stingray, what's up, man? What's up, Beard of Power? Awesome Tatum, my dude. Steve IRE, Chris McConville, so many of you jumping in. Old Darth, Gaza, good to see you guys. Let's see here. And it would be really cool if Your Long Shadows, it would be really cool if this PC support is pretty nice. I want to give a quick shout out to Samson143. Thank you so much for the donation, my friend. Keeping that tip train going. Thank you for spreading the support and love, my friend. Right back at you. Says, just stop by to say, hey. Hi, Samson. Starting now to see you now. Soon. Starting now, so see you now. Soon. Awesome, man. Hope you get caught up. Enjoy my 40-minute rant about the layoffs and stuff. Obviously, like I said, not something I really felt like I really wanted to address, but I feel like we have to. And I just wanted to point out, you know, the damage is already done. The damage is done from Sony to Sony London Studio. The second they weren't put on PlayStation VR2 to make another game, or something to utilize the tech there, which is their strength. It's also seeming like maybe that's what Sony's been doing with Fire Sprite and Twisted Metal. That might not have been a VR game. And it's like, what are you doing? You hired these people as a VR studio. Why do you have them working on freaking live service games? It's just a baffling model, man. It's mismanagement. I don't know if I've never seen it, but I have not seen this level of mismanagement by Sony in a very long time. And that's basically what I wanted to point out is some horrible, horrible choices. Some, you know, rumors of toxic cultures and all these things that you don't want to see, man. I've worked in a toxic environment. It's not good. but and not having the foresight to prevent some of these things and make the right decisions, because you're just like, money, 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 money. Let's let money make our decision, and investors make our decisions, and groups make our AI group decisions. Let's see here. Okay, guys. All right, it is time to get on with the games. Sorry, Scott, the PSVR game cap for life. But real quick, I gotta say thank you so much to the Violator, John Leguizamo. Thank you so much for the donation, man. Keeping that tip train going and the positivity and love right back at you. Says, what's up, brother? What up, man? All is good here. I've been playing tons of VR lately, on top of playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth a little bit. And it's been awesome. I love I love Final Fantasy VII, and but we got some good VR games to talk about, which we're going to talk about today. So first, let's kick things off with the announcement of a new PlayStation VR2 title, and this is an interesting one because this comes from the initiative called the India Hero Project. Now, this is something that PlayStation Studios has been doing for several years now. We recently knew of the China Hero Project, which produced such esteemed titles as Immoral Legacy. Shout out to my dude. Just incredible at that there for his Immoral Legacy. But this is the India Hero Project, and this is basically Sony expanding into different markets, getting other countries and markets involved, and this is India getting involved, which is pretty cool. And this game was announced. It's called Meteora: The Race Against Space-Time, and basically it is described as a combat racing game. Here, I've actually got a trailer. What's surprising is that there's a trailer for this, but it's 3 years old. Hopefully the audio is off as well. Okay, good. Sometimes I accidentally start the videos with the audio on. Matthew Longo says, is this worth covering? Yes, that's why I'm covering it, sir. But yeah, I think it is worth covering, because this footage we're showing here is actually 3 years old. This video footage is quite old, so I don't know. We haven't seen actual new gameplay of what this looks like. But I disagree, Matthew Longo. I think your face looks bad. I'm just kidding. He says this game looks bad. No, I think this looks really good. And I'm totally just joking with you. I hope you know that. But anyways, so we don't really know much about this, but going by the old footage, what it actually seems here, this is the weird thing about it. It's described as racing combat with arcade gameplay. And what's going to make this a success in my eyes is good visuals and good gameplay. Visually, this being 3 years ago, visually, this actually looks really nice. As Bearded Power 666, my dude, points out, those colors will look awesome on PSVR2. That is the hope here. If it has good graphical fidelity and it looks like that in VR. Obviously, a lot of games we like are in like first person and whatnot for more immersion, but stuff like this can be visually pleasing, can be very stimulating in the right ways. Let's see here. I don't know why my chat disappeared for a second. Let me get you guys back on there. But so it's a racing combat game where you play as a meteor, which is kind of weird. I will admit that's a little outside the box and kind of strange. But, you know, to be fair, Thumper, you were a metal beetle on a track. So stranger things have happened. And Thumper was awesome. We have had other than this is, I'm hoping, is kind of like a next Thumper kind of game. Yes, an indie title, but with, built for like next gen, could be pretty cool. They haven't really announced much on it other than it's combat racing in space, that it has leaderboards, and that there is like some sort of upgrade system. So we don't know exactly. But if it has these types of visuals and they look really nice in the PSVR2 headset, this is going to be one of those sensory overload kind of games that could be really, really cool as a smaller title, you know. And I dig it, man. I'm hoping this is our next thumper. That's the hope here. But you know, like I said, all it has to nail are the visuals and the gameplay, and we're gonna have a good time with this one. So moving on, however, I keep turning off the wrong thing here. I keep turning off the chat. I'm sorry. Let me put this here. Moving on, speaking of sensory overload and crazy visuals, I would like to give some first impressions on AKKA ARRH. Old Darth, you're just in time. I'm literally just about to talk about AKKA ARRH, but before I do so, I gotta give a shout out to Red Rover, the effing game cat. Thank you so much for the donation and the support. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for the love and support. Right back at you. Says, God, dude, I'm so deep into GT7. I'm glad you didn't go anywhere else with that. Started and can't stop. Epic. Looking forward to seeing some other new games at some point. Oh, Dargans. Yes. Dude, GT7 is amazing. One of the most immersive VR experience I've ever had in my life, for sure. Absolutely incredible. All right, but let's talk about some AKKA ARRH. Now, disclaimer, as I like to do when I haven't completed a game, I have only played this for maybe like an hour or so, but I can tell you from my first impressions what it's like. And this comes to us via Llamasoft, who made one of the most awesome little trippy games like a thumper on PSVR 1. Jeff Minter, the king of trippy Atari games. And this is his latest game. And, you know, so let me just say, this is, of course, a huge retro throwback. Today's themes are going to be interesting. The games we're covering between this, System Critical 2, and Stilt, we're going like 70s, 80s, and 90s. We're going in like chronological order here. But so first impressions for this game, it starts out and it's kind of, you know, just getting through the tutorial alone was really confusing at first. I had no idea what I was doing, but essentially you're controlling this. You've got this little like character in the middle of the screen and you're controlling this reticle. This game uses the DualShock, by the way. I didn't actually use the Sense controllers to see if it works with the Sense controllers, but it's not a hand-tracked game or anything. I just used the DualSense. But it has this really strange mechanic at first where you're kind of like there's these things that are dropping onto the screen and you have to use your little target reticle to drop a bomb, and as you drop the bomb, it creates this blast radius, and if you hit one of these things, those then explode and it causes like a chain reaction. And it took me a while to figure that out, like what the hell was going on at first, because it's just so confusing at first. It's so weird and out of and just wild, as you would expect. You know, but as you get going, it starts to get kind of cool in the sense that, like, as you change the whole name of the game here, it's not necessarily just about spamming shooting. You have to kind of precisely drop these bombs and create chain reactions. When you create these chain reactions, stay with me here. When you create these chain reactions, you build up like bullets that you can shoot, and then while you build up these bullets, you use those bullets to shoot like other enemies that are coming on the screen and also shooting projectiles at you. And as you creating more and more chain reactions, everything gets trippier and trippier and trippier. So it's like this really weird swelling trip fest with kind of like a strategy to it. I actually liked the gameplay. It took me a minute. I was like, what is this? But as I started to figure out what the hell was going on, I was like, okay, like there's kind of like a cool system in place here that builds. And and it was kind of cool. And there's supposed to be 50 levels on this, and obviously the things kind of get more complex. They introduce more things like power-ups that you can pick up, and it starts like destroying everything. That is my best way to describe how this game works. And I hope you were able to follow that. I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, it's got this nice, it's all, the name of the game is like chain reactions. Like you're really trying to build up these chain reactions. It's getting trippier in the process, and then you're trying to shoot other enemies and defend yourself and other in the process. And yeah, it's got like layers to it, like literal layers where you can actually jump to another layer on the screen and do some other shit. And like it's just so wacky and wild. But yeah, my first impressions of this are pretty cool. If you're into obviously like Atari inspired retro games, things like that, of that nature, it still has that classic Atari feel to it. It's nice that it's in VR. It's got tons of weird, wacky sounds, weird text that pops up on the screen that has these strange catchphrases and all these. It's just weird, man. But it's something that is a welcome addition to the library, in my opinion. And I like it so far. It's got 50 levels with it, and that's supposed to be basically what it is. So it's probably, you know, like most arcade games, it's not going to be the longest game ever, but it's kind of cool. All right, man. But yeah, first impressions of this are pretty good. But let me just say something. I still want Polybius on PSVR 2. And I know Jeff Minter has talked about he's hesitant to bring it to PSVR 2 because if he brings it to PSVR 2, people are going to want a free upgrade for it. And he wants to, you know, he just doesn't find that that's worth it to him. Well, I'll be honest with you, man. If paying for Polybius again, which was a $15 game, it's not like it was that expensive to begin with. If paying for Polybius again is how we have to get Polybius again, I am totally cool with that, man. But in my opinion, this game is actually one of his better ones I've played in a while. But I still think Polybius is the king at the end of the day. And I would absolutely love to see him. Now, here's the cool thing, is that I think, so Atari is going to be at PAX East. And I think Jeff Minter is going to have some kind of feature there. I don't know if he'll be demoing this game. I don't know if Jeff Minter is going to be there or not. But if he is at PAX East, then I have a promise to you, cats, that if I can, I'm definitely going to tell him, look, bring us Polybius, let us pay $15 again for it. I will absolutely tell him that in person. You know, it's hard to listen to the internet sometimes when there's so much noise coming from all different directions. But yeah, so if we end up getting Polybius and we have to pay for it again, it's my fault. Just blame me. If you're mad, if you find people that are mad on the internet, just say, go blame PSVR Underground. It's his fault. He told him to do it, and then turn around and go buy Polybius and play it and have a great time and thank me later. No, but for real though, I will try to do that. If he's there, I will absolutely mention that to him. And I will mention that if there's some kind of discount you can do, then do it for sure. For your long shadows, as mentioned. But hey, if that's what we got to do to get it, I'd rather pay $15 for Polybius again than never see it again, except for on PSVR 1. It's so good. It's so much fun. This game, however, this again, not a full review, but first impressions are pretty solid. It's very much in the same vein as many of Jeff Minter's other games. I like the mechanics of this one, even though they're kind of very strange at first. They are kind of fun, addicting arcade style stuff. So, all right, that is my first impressions. Before we get on to the next game here, AI pizza. I love it, man. AI is taking over. It's crazy, but AI, please don't take over pizza. Says you dropped the bomb on me, baby. Thank you so much for the donation and the support, man. Much love to you. I appreciate it. I think he said that when I was trying my best to articulate the gameplay mechanics when starting out in AKKA ARRH. Crazy name, by the way. I suppose it doesn't hold a candle to Goat Up or anything, though. Scott, the PSVR Game Cat for Life, thank you so much for the donation. Says, Jim Ryan looks like the rich uncle that you only go and see for your birthday just to get a good present, and you end up with a moody-looking toy. F Jim Ryan. Damn, Scott. Oh, man. Pulling no punches, man. Yeah. That was a good one. That was a good one. You know, like I said, Jim Ryan has done some good things, but I've been very unhappy with him. Like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. So, and they broke it when everything was going great. Bad mistake. Silver Nexus, thank you so much for the donation, my dude. Says, thank you for making this day suck. Just a little less. You're the best. You're the best, my friend. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate all you guys' support, keeping that tip train going. It really does help a lot. And actually, it reminds me, I almost forgot something here. I skipped over one thing. Before I get on to the other two games that are coming out tomorrow, there was a game that popped up on the PlayStation Store today, and it's called Mecha Party. This came out of nowhere, and yeah, it's by KingNet Technology, Hong Kong Limited, and it's basically a mech MOBA game. Some of you pointed this out to me, saying, hey, you know, this came out. Is it any good? And here's the thing. I did not purchase this game, and I'll tell you why I did not purchase this game and why I think you should not purchase this game. First of all, it came out of nowhere, and we know nothing about it. There's hardly any real reviews or anything on it. There are a couple gameplay videos on it. Disclaimer, PS Plus is required for online play, so it requires the thing. The reason I didn't pick this game up, you guys, is because it's a multiplayer focused PvP game, meaning that it seems like it mostly has to be online and versus different players. Well, if nobody knew the game was coming out today, why would you expect there to be anybody playing this? Look, there's not even any ratings yet, not even the developers. So I don't know why this released today, why this is on the store. If this was an accidental release, which we've seen happen over and over, but at $27, I'm sorry. You know, I just can't bring myself to buy this, knowing that this is a multiplayer focused game that had no marketing, no announcement, nobody is aware that it exists, and it requires like basically 3v3 combat or anything. So my advice, guys, I did read some reviews on this on the store and on the Steam page, and there was like some early access Steam people that kind of said like it was decent, like it was okay. They did mention that there is a tiny bit of single player content in the form of like some challenges, but the core game itself is all about PvP, 3 versus 3, it seems. So I highly recommend you stay far away from this. I was going to grab this just to give you guys some impressions until I saw that it was online only, and I'm like, well, nobody has this. Chances are I'm going to buy this and just waste money because nobody's going to be online. So just a heads up on that. Let's see here. But now we can actually get to some other stuff. $2 Temu Undies says, AJ, you could love it. I do really want a good mech game. There's been one that's announced, that Big Shots VR, which it looks okay. I think the cartoony graphics are kind of a turnoff for me. And the fact that I think it's a roguelike is a big turnoff for me. And a wave shooter roguelike, it's you know, I don't know. But I hope at some point we do get some kind of at least decent mech game. I love mechs. I liked MechWarrior back in the day. I love me some Armored Core. That would be like the dream come true right there. But I think Big Shots is really probably the next real mech game to look forward to. Hopefully it's good. It being a wave shooter roguelike with cartoony graphics, we'll see. I don't want to judge it too soon, but I'm not really that crazy about that. And Niles Ryan says, he's downloading AKKA ARRH. Nice. It's on the store. Yeah, that's right. The embargo for AKKA ARRH lifted today. So yeah, like I said, not a full review on AKKA ARRH, just first impressions. What I will give you, so there's 2 other games coming out tomorrow. That's System Critical 2 and Stilt. Now, another disclaimer here. I have not beaten these games, but I have spent a couple hours with them, and I've gotten a very heavy dose of them. You know, I'm a few hours into them, like 3 hours into them each. So I do have some updated impressions here, and we're going to start with System Critical. I'm actually going to show you some of my gameplay as well. Now on what was it? Was it Monday? I think no. It might have been last week. Last week, I think Brian and I shared some first impressions of this game on PSVR2 without parole, and the first impressions overall were not good. And I think that remains. This game does not make good first impressions. When you jump in, the main menu music is annoying. The quality of it, graphically, it's kind of like hazy and doesn't have the highest resolution. There's I'm like adjusting my eyes here. It's obviously a smaller indie title, and it lacks which, as such, as you would expect, it does lack a lot of like production values. But I think the thing that bothers me most is some of the quality of life features it's missing. Like, I don't know, maybe the developer can correct me. Feel free to correct me, developer. But I don't even think that there's a way to pause the game when you're in a level. So like, I chose a level and didn't want to play it, and I changed my mind and wanted to pick a different level, and I couldn't pause the game to get back to it, to get back to the menu. I don't know if that was on me or if that's the game. But there's several quality of life features that this game is missing. But here's the good news, is that upon playing more of it, I did actually find some things I liked about it. I said before, okay, PSVR Brazil, what up, Carlos? Good to see you, my friend. Old school PSVR channel in the house representing Brazil. He says, yes, AJ, you can't pause and get out of the level. That's like insane to me. I mean, look, I get that this is a retro inspired game. I'm pretty sure you could pause retro games. This isn't exactly an arcade nickel. You know, AKKA ARRH is also an Atari inspired game, but guess what? You can pause the menu. So there's little quality of life features that bug the shit out of me, or lack of thereof, with this game. Every time you start a level or every time you die, it defaults to click turning, and you have to press the click turning. You can pause in a Mega Man game. That's true. You can click the right joystick. You have to click the right joystick every time you start a level or every time you die and start from a checkpoint. But here's the thing, though. Upon playing more of this, you know, I had said last week that this game is not Mega Man enough, and I think I got to backtrack on that a little bit. This game is actually pretty Mega Man AF in several ways. Maybe like at least in terms of design, in terms of retroness. The people that are going to like this game are the ones that I'll tell you what this game has done for me. It's kind of been up and down. I've enjoyed parts of this game. I've enjoyed parts of the levels. I've enjoyed some of the gameplay, some of the old school retro design. As a retro gamer and a huge Mega Man fan. I've got my Mega Man 2 posing on the top of a building picture hanging up back there. Mega Man is like literally the reason I started video games. So started playing video games in my life. This game often gets described as the Mega Man in VR, and I think that is the incorrect way to approach this game. I think a retro-inspired game is much more fitting, but it's fair to say that it does have several similarities that are inspired by Mega Man. Obviously, the Mega Buster with the charge shot being the biggest one, but even some other things such as trying to include some platforming, moving platforms. There is a little bit of like charm and style here that is likable in a indie retro kind of way. But there's also a lot of just like junk. There's a lot of excess junk and missing quality of life features that kind of bog it down for me. One day I kind of enjoy this game. One day I'm like super frustrated and don't enjoy it because something just doesn't feel right. It's kind of like some levels I really liked, some levels I didn't. And I don't know. There's a lot of repetition in this game. And it does try to change things up, but I feel like the repetitive stuff kind of is the best stuff, because you're kind of just going around each level shooting and shooting enemies. And I will say what this game does kind of successfully do is it does scratch a bit of that retro itch that I have. It scratches a little bit of that retro and Mega Man itch that I really have all the time, and I think it does do a decent job of that. It has like some charm in that way, but again, there is a lack of polish here. There is a lack of quality of life features, and I mentioned before things about the music. I did actually find some music tracks that were better than others. There's it's kind of like all over the place. Like, I think it's just really messy. Some of the game I think is nice and is like fun for like hardcore retro gamers, and some of it's just frustrating. If you're not even into like retro style shooters and stuff like that, like you're probably gonna absolutely despise this game. Especially if you're into if you're looking for more a high production value kind of game, this is not going to be the one for you. I would stay far away from this. But if you do need a retro fix, this one, it's okay. The thing is, the game is at $20, and I don't like the $20 price tag on this. I think Brian actually nailed it on the head where he was like, he said he would pay, this seems like a good value at like $8 or whatever. And I think he nailed it on the head with that. I went a little too far and said like, free. Like, I'm like, because, and the reason I said that, I saw some people getting upset about that. And of course that was probably taken way out of context. I mean, I was just saying how I felt in my first impressions, because your first impressions playing this, I felt like I was like playing somebody's kind of like home garage project and not something that I actually paid money for. It's like, this would be cool as I go over to my friend's house and he's like, hey, look what I made, and play this. So it got blown a little bit out of proportion by some people that didn't even play the game yet and they were kind of attacking me, whatever. I did play the game at the time, at least. So I do think, but I was just sharing my first impressions, and I gave this game a second chance and even a third and fourth chance. And I think if you can get this game super cheap, super discounted, I think there is a little bit of fun to have if you're a retro or Mega Man style fan. There's some decent things in here. I just think that like I said, the biggest issues with it is it's lacking some quality of life features, like a pause button, being able to go back to the main menu. There's these additional power-ups and weapons that you get. there's like additional melee weapons that are absolutely useless, and you can't like holster them. There's grenades that are useless and you can't holster them. Not entirely useless, but mostly. You're going to be using basically the main gun the whole time. And then yeah, like there's just, I don't know, the boss fights. You know, people were asking about how difficult this game is. There's a couple challenging spots. The boss fights have been really easy for me. You literally can just side strafe around, and which is basically, for those who don't know, strafing is just walking, you know, left or right. I was able to just strafe in a circle around every single boss so far and absolutely obliterate them. So I did appreciate that that there were bosses, that all the bosses looked different, that they seem kind of different in some ways, but yeah, I don't know. There's this section here too that I'm showing. This was a section that I did not care for very much. I thought the platforming was pretty good until I kind of hit this section, and this section kind of bothered me. It just, something with the acceleration felt a little off, to where like it was like, I don't know, it was kind of hard to tell when I'm like speeding up and slowing down, and you know, I don't know, it just felt a little off. But Thundercat says, do we know how much this game is? Yeah, this game is gonna be $20. I do not recommend this game at $20. If at all. I like little things about this game, but I recommend it for like more of the $7 or $8 to $10 max here for this one. But yeah, I will say, to its credit, it did give me a little bit of it did scratch a little bit of an itch where like I was like really frustrated with this game, but then I found myself wanting to go back to it, to kind of scratch that retro itch or whatever, get my Mega Man fix. It does do some Mega Man things. It's not as good as a Mega Man game, like a pure one would be, but it, you know, the developer made a point to say like he's trying to also, it's Mega Man inspired, but he's trying to, you know, obviously due to copyright stuff and probably some other reasons, he's trying to make system critical at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, that's what I think this game is its own little thing with some Mega Man and retro inspired elements to it. I wouldn't be in any rush to go out and play this one until it goes on sale, which it most likely will. Dan Kiefer says it's a little bit more Mighty Number 9. Yeah. A little bit, feels a little bit more Mighty Number 9 than Mega Man. It does do a couple good things though, but there's some awful things that it has, which I just can't let go. But oh shit, I always press the thing. So that's my overall thoughts on System Critical. The last thing I said, I kept mentioning this, there's too much bloated stuff that's useless in the game. Once you kill some bosses, you kill like 2 bosses of the same style level or something, you get like a Mega Buster power up or whatever. And most of that has not been super useful. I mean, maybe later, maybe towards the last level areas or something, they become more useful and whatnot, but I don't know. It's not that great. For System Critical 2, I am at I think I'm at a 5 out of 10 for it. And that's being kind of generous. If little things bother you like they do most people, like when people complain about every little thing in any single game, this game is going to be like a 3 out of 10 for you. So just, you have been warned. But for people that like me that can forgive some issues here and there, being kind of generous here, I think like 5 out of 10, maybe 4.5. But so like I said, that one I would hold off for now. But the good news is, guys, is that is not the only game that is releasing tomorrow. We also have Stilt which is one that I've been looking forward to. I've been pretty excited about, but I've been cautiously optimistic about this one. You know, saying we first saw the trailer for this from the PSVR awards show, I believe, where Brian debuted the announcement for this. And then we, you know, later on got an announcement on the PS blog. But this is Stilt. And what attracted me to this game was that first and foremost, I love platformers. I'm a big fan of platformers. And this game is basically, I guess, let me explain this game the best I can here. The best way I can describe this game is graphically, it's like an N64 game. Like it looks like it's got the graphics of an N64 game, but with super high resolution. This game is actually very sharp and clear. Very. It seems like it's native resolution, native frame rate, all that stuff. It is a high resolution game, and it's got a lot of charm to it. But here's the thing, this game it's kind of like a gimmick. Like, obviously it's a gimmick, and somebody said it should have been called Pogo. I said the same thing. I think Brian pointed out that Pogo might be trademarked though, which is why they went with Stilt, which makes sense because you do have, you know, it's more like having two pogo sticks for arms and you're bouncing around. Here's the difference here though. And you guys are going to want to hear what I have to say about this game, because I think you're going to be kind of surprised here what I have to say possibly. We started with AKKA ARRH in the 70s, then we went to System Critical with the 80s, late 80s. Now we're entering the 90s with this N64 style game. What I was hoping with that, this would be kind of like a Mario fix. I wouldn't say it's a Mario fix in itself, though it does have some of that N64 charm to it. But it's, you know, textures wise, like textures wise, character design wise, they're kind of more on the simplistic side. But there was another game that came out recently called Toss, and Toss was basically a game where you play as a monkey, and it's these short little 10-minute courses that you just kind of blast through by throwing yourself around. That was the gimmick there. The problem I had with Toss was that it felt like a mobile game. Like it felt like it had the depth and the content of just a quick mobile runner style game. What I like about Stilt so far is that it feels like a gimmick that they've actually designed like a full game around, with full levels that feel like long and varied. There's different features, like, you know, there's enemies in some parts. Here you'll see this is non-spoiler early on gameplay of an early level. But so far I am enjoying this game quite a bit, actually. This game is really fun to kind of bounce around. At first I was a little worried, starting out. I was like, man, is this going to be like, you know, I was feeling like I was getting kind of bored at first, but it does kind of pick up. It does get better. The levels start mixing things up, and I will share some multiplayer at the end here, because we did play some multiplayer, and I do want to share some thoughts on that as well. But at first it's kind of like you're bouncing around. It's gimmicky. It looks like a kind of like a kid's game, a little bit. But it does look nice and sharp. But yeah, graphically, that's the best way I can describe it, is like an N64 game with really high resolution, which the N64 did not have. But I really like the fact that this feels like actual levels. It's got checkpoints, and basically you see I'm collecting these stamps. There's a lot of stamps to collect. And if you die in this level, you do get 3 hits. Yes, I did play with Brian, which I will share in a minute. You get like 3 hearts, where if you get hit 3 times, you die, or if you fall off a level, or there's a lot of hazards like lava or water, or, you know, just abyss that you fall into. it lets you, it basically, if you die, you get a game over, but it lets you continue it by spending 10 stamps, which you collect throughout the level. You can also buy an upgrade, or like this game has power-ups. This game is almost more mega, like I swear to God, you guys, when I was playing this, I was almost like, man, this is almost like more Mega Man than System Critical was. Not even joking, not entirely, but the thing is that you do get some power-ups on these levels. Like, obviously the main mechanic is jumping around. The physics feel pretty good. Like, you can the harder you hit the pogo sticks or whatever, the higher you bounce. But as you can see here, there's also some power-ups that you can get, like shooting fireballs. There's gadgets you can get, like little fans that let you kind of propel yourself in the air, and things like that. You can, I saw some people comparing this game to like Jumping Flash. I wouldn't go that far, though. Upon playing the game more, I do see where the comparison comes from, but you're not necessarily jumping as high as you are in Jumping Flash, and there's not, I think it's a bit of a stretch to compare this to Jumping Flash, though I get it, and I'm not totally against that comparison. Let's see, but yeah, man. So you're going around these different levels, and you're trying to collect. You basically are awarded these gift boxes. There's a couple gift boxes in the levels that you have to find and locate. There's little side dungeons that you can find and go down. And if you complete the dungeon, sometimes it's just by killing an enemy. The interesting thing here is this game also has some like a nice way of mixing things up with some variety here. It's got some dungeons that even have like some puzzles. And what I like about this game is that it's actually, even though it looks kind of kiddie, this game actually is a nice challenge. This game can be pretty challenging, which I, as somebody that likes challenging games, very much appreciated. This game can be pretty difficult depending on your skill level. There are definitely some parts. So the levels are designed to where this is one of the challenge dungeons here. The levels are designed where, you want to get through. I just died. And so you can see me using the 86 stamps I collected. Oh, I pressed the wrong button there because I didn't know at the time. This is early impressions gameplay, so I'm losing my train of thought here. You really, to 100% each level, you have to collect all of the gift boxes. And there are, like I said, some dungeons with puzzles, with some challenges to get all of them. And it adds a nice replay value, but what I was getting at was that there is enough challenge here where there were definitely moments that I've played so far where I was like, as much as I've been wanting to collect every single thing in each level, there were definitely moments that were so difficult where I was like, listen, I will just live to fight another day. I'm going to move on from here, and I will come back and 100% this. So there is some good replay value here. But it's pretty good stuff, man. I am definitely having a lot of fun with this. It seems like it's a little slow going at first because it's kind of just easing you into things, but it does get better and better. And like I said, it eventually, especially once it gets going, it has enough like variety to it and introduces enough mechanics as well as challenge. I think the worst mistake this game could have made was that if it was too easy. But considering that I've definitely struggled on several parts of it. I think, and it's struggling in a way that felt mostly fair. Dang, like I messed that up. But it was really difficult moments, but not too bad. There is no talking floating robot telling you, speaking in your ear every 3 seconds, luckily, Scott. But okay, so like I said, man, and also this game has like a couple hours of content, it seems. So far, I'm over 3 hours, and I'm only on the third world. And it seems like I have plenty more to do, and there's some replay value, and there's multiplayer. Before I get into the multiplayer, but overall, like I said, overall, I've been enjoying this game quite a bit. It doesn't feel like a cheap mobile game. It feels just like a charming N64 with high resolution game. And before I get into the multiplayer, let me see if there's any questions you guys were asking. It says, how many, Awesome Tatum says, how many bounces with your stilt until you're just playing with it? Oh, Awesome Tatum. Dude, yeah, so it does become really fun to just kind of bounce around here. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss any important questions here. It doesn't look like I've missed anything before I get on and talk about the multiplayer, because the multiplayer is like almost another thing entirely. Let's see here. Okay, I think that's it. Everyone's saying don't read the chat. Okay. Ooh, Thundercat. That's a good question. I wish I knew the answer to that. If there's a platinum for it, I can maybe check my phone here. I can check the app. I swear I'm going to get to the multiplayer here in just a second, as well as my final thoughts on the game. Let me just check and see real quick if there is a platinum trophy. I really hope there is, because this would be a fun one. Oh, there's no platinum trophy. Oh, wait, no, there is. There is a platinum trophy. Hell yes. There's 36 trophies available. Man, getting the platinum in this might be kind of difficult. But yeah, there is a platinum confirmed for this, which is really cool. Definitely, if I still was going after platinums, this would definitely be my kind of game. I'd like to platinum. But yeah, man. So anyways, now on to the multiplayer, and then my final thoughts on the game. The multiplayer apparently supports up to 8 players, and you basically just join the multiplayer, and it's kind of a public open lobby. There is a little bit, the characters you are in this are the weirdest little things. They're like these little aliens with just 2 legs with stilts for hands, or pogo sticks for hands. And they have these, like, they've got like little cat ears, and they look like fuzzy little creatures. The only customization you can do really is just change your color. You can change like what color. You can change the saturation of the colors, and then like the brightness and darkness of it. I don't have any of the footage of the multiplayer. Sorry about that. I probably should have, because it probably would have been kind of funny. You'll probably see some with Brian's review of, I played with me, Wes, Niculo, Mr. Sonic, and Brian. And guys, I think Brian's going to end up having a good review for this, a positive review for it. I know he's probably working on his review right now. He seems to be having a fun time with it, because dude, Brian just couldn't sit still. He was driving me absolutely nuts. He was just bouncing around constantly, and he couldn't sit still. He was like a little child bouncing around. Yeah, man. So the multiplayer was a really interesting thing. All I had known was that there's PvP, but I knew nothing else about the multiplayer that this has. But so the multiplayer works in an interesting way, where you do join just the public lobby at first, but if you want to group up, there is a little doorway you can go through, and you can group up with your friends there. There's like room codes you can share, things along those lines. And then you actually can head into the arena. I'm curious to see how many people can actually fit into that public area. Even like the overworld of this game, there's so much about this game that I like. not only are there individual levels, but each one of these individual levels is also connected by an overworld that you can kind of roam around. And the multiplayer is the same way. The public lobby is just like this overworld, and then you can head into the arena where you actually begin the matches. So, was the multiplayer any good? Yes. Yes, it was. It's super weird. It's really wacky. It's kind of chaotic. But I will say, man, as somebody that's not a multiplayer guy, I was actually having a really fun time with the multiplayer in this. And there's actually different modes. All of the multiplayer is PvP, but it comes off as kind of like party games. Like it felt kind of like a party game multiplayer mode. Basically what was happening was there's slap 'em all is one of the modes. And the way you kind of choose the way you choose the multiplayer mode that you want is like, it's like these Mario 64 like picture frame mirrors or whatever that you like jump through and it like votes on them. There's 3 different ones you can choose at a time. There's different there's like the different biomes. There's the snow level, there's the like lava levels, then there's the tropical island levels, and it mixes up those along with the modes, mixes and matches those. But the first mode is called Slap 'em All, which is basically PvP elimination, where you use the power-ups to kill each other, basically. That mode can be kind of fun and chaotic. I kind of wish there was a little bit more guns, like power-ups spread out in the levels. I think you're supposed to be able to jump on each other's heads to take down hearts. But really what ends up happening is everybody just goes for the fireball guns, and these fireball guns, the fireballs bounce around. So like there was this one room that we kept finding ourselves going to, and it's a small room, and it was absolute chaos. It was us bouncing around in this tiny castle room, and we were all spamming fireballs at each other, which, by the way, have unlimited ammo, but you have to hit them on the ground. Once you hit them on the ground, it'll reload them. There's fireballs bouncing everywhere. There's bodies bouncing everywhere. And there's like people dying. And it was just absolute chaos. I was like screaming, not like really screaming, but I was kind of yelling a bunch. And it was a lot of fun when that would happen. But that's just like a PvP kind of combat mode. There's some other abilities there, but really the main useful one is the fireball gun. That one was okay. There's another mode called Area Smash. And what Area Smash is that there's the level as is, and there's this big, like kind of see-through yellow shield that slowly travels around the level, and you basically gain points by staying within that bubble. And so everybody's chasing around this giant bubble, trying to stay in it. You can also hit each other, smack each other out of it. And it's just also chaotic. But it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with that mode. And that was pretty cool. Like it's kind of hard. It was kind of challenging to stay in the bubble. And you just rack up points. It's kind of like domination or something. But then the last mode we had here is probably my favorite, which was the balloon pop, of course, double pop. It's basically the whole level is just full of balloons, and you have to jump around and pop the most balloons. The person that pops the most balloons wins. Sounds simple enough, but it's a little bit more fun and chaotic than it sounds. I think different people are going to have different preferences as to which mode they like, but I'll be honest with you, like I was having a lot of fun with any of the modes. I was the best at balloon pop and the area smash one. I was the best at those. The other guys were destroying me in the PvP one, the PvP combat one. They wrecked me. They had just much better aim with those guns because they're kind of hard to aim with. But yeah, I was having a surprising amount of fun here. It just felt like a party. Like it felt like a fun social party with some goofy, like really goofy gameplay mechanics, and it was just fun, man. I've been really longing for kind of like a good party game, even though I guess that is probably my favorite form of multiplayer game, is besides co-op, of course, is I do like party games. And this was a pretty good party mode. But between the three modes, I actually had a good bit of fun with it. And it was fun, and I look forward to playing. So, final verdict on this game, guys. This game is priced at $20. Do I recommend this game? And do I recommend this game at $20? Let me tell you, to my own surprise, I would say, yeah. Like I give the thumbs up to recommend this game even at $20, which really isn't that much, but you know, we're very picky about stuff. I think that there's enough content, there's enough variety. It's a game based on a gimmick, but it's got a nice game built around that gimmick. And then on top of that, there's some multiplayer. I think like my good buddy Silver Nexus says, $20 is a fair price. I feel like that is a fair price for this game. And you guys know how critical we can be and how picky we are when it comes to recommending games. This 9 times out of 10, a game like this is one that I say, hold off, wait for it to be $15. Even that picky. But I think this game is worth the $20. I think it's pretty fun, especially if you have some friends to try out the multiplayer with. I'm sure this will be part of multiplayer meetups one week, and I'm gonna actually try to make that because that could be a lot of fun. I enjoyed the multiplayer in this, but yeah, man. Again, it might start off a little bit slow. It may seem like it may be a little boring at first, but give it time, and it's pretty good. What I like about this, now when TOS came out, I did not, I wasn't crazy about TOS. And the reason was it felt like it had no depth. Like it was just a one-trick pony and that was it. I know some people liked TOS, but to me, it felt cheap. This does not feel, even though this has like, lower budget graphics in terms of like textures and character designs and things, it's got that kind of Nintendo-ish charm, which is what I was hoping for. It's got a little bit of that Nintendo charm with it, and it's got enough depth and variety and content here to justify the price point. So that is the good news, my friends, of the games this week. If you're going to be picking up one, if one looks interesting to you, this is the one that I would recommend. It's pretty fun. I have plenty more to do in this game. I've already spent over 3 hours in it. And I have more that I want to play it, but obviously if you want more like shorter, detailed stuff, I'm sure Brian will have a really good review on this very soon, and I would expect it to be a positive review. He seemed like he was having a lot of fun. He was acting like a child the entire time we were playing. He just had that fun giddiness about him that you don't see often with Brian, and it was a lot of fun watching it. It was a lot of fun watching him have fun with this, and I was having fun as well. You guys and your collecting stamps thing here. Yeah, this game's obviously not going to be for everybody, but if you're looking for a good, solid platformer, I think this is a good, solid platformer, and I'm enjoying it here, and it's good so far. Like I said, it's challenging too. So if you think it's going to be too easy or anything, that's not the case. It is pretty challenging. So if you think it's just going to be too kiddie, too easy, you are wrong. This game is challenging as well, and depending on your skill level, you'll get you know, you'll at least get a couple hours out of it, if not several more, because of how challenging it is. And if you want to 100% it, you'll definitely get even more, and with multiplayer. So good stuff, guys. That is it for today's show. I'd like to thank you so much for being here, hanging out today with me. It was a blast. It was nice to get the show back on the road. Hopefully this weekend at some point, I will continue my Legendary Tales stream. I have been, if it seems like I haven't done anything in the past week, the truth is, I actually was streaming on my Twitch channel. So if you want extra fun stuff, you can check out my Twitch. I whenever I can, I'm not streaming a full playthrough of Final Fantasy VII, but I am streaming a little bit of there. I'd like to stream some of this game, perhaps, maybe, I don't know. But really, my big focus is going to be getting through Legendary Tales, because I'm nowhere near done with that one either. I absolutely freaking love that game. And so I will be doing a full playthrough, and I need to finish that. So that's going to be the priority. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to get to Saturday Night live stream as well, but no promises on that just yet. I will bring that back as soon as possible, though. It's not going anywhere. I just want to get through Legendary Tales first. And I only have so much time in the day. Yeah, man, thank you to all these lovely people down here. Support me on Patreon, patreon.com/PSVR Underground. Thank you to everybody who donated today. I really appreciate you getting that tip train going, keeping the support going. It means the world to me, and it helps me more than you may know. And I love you very much for it. Thank you to everyone else, the moderators, for keeping the chat clean. Well, apparently there was some dirty stuff going on in the chat, but I'm not very strict on what the chat does. As long as it's all in good fun, the chat is really, you know, y'all can say whatever you like. As long as it's, you know, not too inappropriate and not hateful and, you know, whatever's. Anyways, appreciate all of you guys else who here sat here and listened to my 40-minute rant about the Sony layoffs. Guys, I think, you know, there's a lot of unknowns right now with PSVR2. You know, there's obviously a lot of the media is going to be slandering it, which is what the media has always done. PSVR has never gotten a fair shake ever, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Really, the only thing PSVR could ever do to change that narrative is to sell 20, 30 million things. And until then, you know, it's still going to be a grind, but there's a lot that I'm looking forward to. There's a lot that I'm hopeful about. And, you know, sometimes if you need to, just turn off the internet and just, you know, enjoy what you enjoy and find people that enjoy the same things and share the good times together, spread the positivity, spread the love. But yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things that will be, you know, seeing. We've got an interesting ride, to say the least, this gen that we're going to be going through. So strap in, because it's going to be an interesting one. But again, you know, I've got hope that there's still plenty of time to right the ship and for things to for some cool things to happen. And you're going to want to be there. Spread the stilts. Oh my goodness. That's right. Silver Nexus. Haters gonna hate. Game Cat's gonna play. But anyways, this has been an innuendo-filled episode. But guys, I appreciate you so much. I really do, and I'm really excited about heading to PAX East this month. Really excited about that. Apparently BJ from Legendary Tales development team, he's going to try to make it to PAX. He's going to be at Games Developer Conference that same week, but he's going to do what he can to make it. So it would be super awesome to get to meet the legend behind Legendary Tales in person. And yeah, like I said, you know, once we go to that, prepare for loads of content. You know, of course, we'll be really have our hands full with a lot of the community members that were able to make it out there. But for those of us, especially for those of you who supported us in being able to go on this trip in the first place, we want to make it worth your while, worth your support. And we're already scheming a bunch of content to do for we're doing some content for all of you, you know, for supporting us going out there to PAX East, and want to do the best we can to make it worth it for you. Dan Keeper said, BJ, the show is now complete. But awesome, guys. Thank you so much as always. And I will see you again on Saturday, if not sooner. If I can do something tomorrow, I will, but most likely I may need to rest a little bit. At the latest, I will see you Saturday for some PSVR goodness, with some legendary tales, maybe a Saturday night live stream if I have the time and energy. And then of course, Sunday is where you can find me playing streaming FF7 most of the time, if I'm going to be doing that. And then I'll see you next Monday on Gamescast Live. Y'all have a wonderful night. I appreciate you. I love you. And good times, man. And we'll see you again very soon. And y'all, get your mind out of the gutters. Never get your mind out of the gutter. You keep your head in that gutter. I love you guys. Take it easy.